Too sweet!
Hi, welcome to JD Sports. I'm Jarrett Hood. That's Dwight Garfield. You can find our Twitters at the show's Twitter page, which is @_JD Sports. Getting into it this week, Dwight.
What up?
The Western Conference Finals. Now,
Oh, shit.
our show is definitely set up a little better for football, right? We're able to kind of record it in the middle of the week, get it up there before the week starts, and know, move on. But so basketball, we're always kind of like in the middle step. Now, last week you did a good job, man. You, the editor, the producer of the show, got it up like that in a heartbeat. It was up.
Should I do a LeBron?
Yeah, LeBron. Oh, look at this. He got a LeBron going. Wow, I'm impressed.
It's coming to be thrown.
Anyways, we'll move on. We'll just forget that happened for Dwight's sake.
But yeah, I mean, got it up. And,
but so out. Props to you. But in case it doesn't get up in time for this one, we do want to make the disclaimer that Game 4 has not happened before we did the show here in the Western Conference Finals. So the last thing that did happen, though, was Draymond Green kicking Adams.
He's trying to be a field goal kicker out there, man.
Well, okay, so before we get into the actual, because the Thunder beat the crap out of the Warriors,
that's a conversation.
and we'll definitely get into that to take the 2-1 series lead, which is impressive and nobody saw coming. But the bigger story coming out of that game, which is crazy, was Draymond Green doing that. Now, that's 2 games in a row that he hit him in that region in some way, shape, or form. The game before was a knee going up for a layup. Now,
I thought that was kind of iffy.
I thought both of them he was pushing. Like, he did it purposely. I don't think either time that he was going for that region, but I do think he connected both times with that region. And
he definitely connected with the region, especially the second time.
Before I get your take on it, I just want to put it right out there. I think he should have been suspended after the one in Game 3 when he went up for the shot, he kicked it. Because his defense was, well, I do that a lot to draw a foul. I kick my leg out like that. Okay, if he's kicking his leg out like that, we should, probably have him stop, fix that, tell him you can't do that anymore. And B, I don't think I've ever seen Draymond Green do that before the series. So I'm not saying he's lying, because obviously I don't watch every moment of every Draymond Green game, but no. I just can't recall him doing that often, or not to the extent that he is. Kobe got suspended before for, he used to kind of throw his hand out when he did, remember that? He hit didn't he break Manu Ginobili's nose, if I'm not mistaken, or he hit him in the forehead or something? I forget what it was. Yeah. And he got suspended because he was doing that after shots for a while, and it finally caught up to him.
That's excessive.
This is worse, I think, and hit him in a worse spot. I just, to me, Draymond Green should have been suspended. I think the NBA did it because, well, they don't want Draymond Green off the court for the rest of the series or for any part of the series because the Warriors are down and it is much better for viewership with Draymond Green in. The Warriors' worst games over the last few years have been when Draymond Green has not been in, and that's worse than when Steph Curry's been out. So that's how big it is, and the NBA had to make that big of a decision. I'm kind of interested to hear how you swayed on this.
Well, starters, do I think he should have been suspended?
Yes.
Oh, it's difficult. I'm gonna say no, just because I don't think they keep saying the word intent. They keep throwing it out there, and I don't think. And I watched it over and over again, like everybody else. I'm looking at it. I don't feel like that was an intentional situation. It was unfortunate that he did actually connect that.
Do you agree that he was intending? Do you agree he was intending to kick? Not maybe kick in that area, but do you agree that he was intending to kick
definitely.
him?
He was trying to make contact. He was trying to flail like they all do.
But do you think he was trying to kick him, intent to actually put his foot into him, like not flail, Kyle Lowery went up for that layup and he did the extra whatever and he fell on the ground. That he wasn't doing that into anybody.
Crap.
He was putting his leg into somebody. I mean, with a little force. Was that intended? Do you think he was trying to kick him?
I don't think he was trying to just kick him. I think he was just trying to make contact. And by default, he was basically throwing his leg. He was kicking. Okay. That's what he did. He kicked. It just so happened he kicked a messed up area.
Yeah.
And that's that's what it is. But like he said, this is apparently what he does. He's not the only, what's funny is that he's not the only person
I agree with
that throws his leg out like that. Dwayne Wade famously does it. Kobe famously does that.
But the way they do it doesn't look that vicious. Like the way they do it, they're not.
I think it only looks vicious because
it doesn't look. And I'm not saying he UFC kicked him, but he was between what they do and the UFC kick. And my point is like he was probably swaying more towards UFC kick than what they do.
Was it an excessive? Was it kind of like an excessive
Force, yeah.
Yes, yeah, I think definitely was. But again, I think it's just the unfortunate circumstances of where his leg just so happened to be, basically, and that's just where it went, and it looks 10 times worse because of where it landed.
I have another question for you. If this was Adams kicking Draymond Green,
I knew he was going there.
does Adams
Would
get
it be
suspended?
Probably not.
I think so.
Probably not.
I think he does.
Now, if it was Steph Curry,
But that's my point. Is that I think another player gets suspended. Here's my biggest thing, and the NBA has always favored their superstars, right? And I think that's just openly known. They do it. The refs do it. The league does it. But the NFL handles situations really poorly, right? And I feel like this situation was handled even more poorly than most situations in the NFL. Maybe not to the magnitude of the Ray Rice situation, but most of the player conduct situations, I think this was handled worse or as bad as the NFL does. You don't want to be falling in that realm as the NBA. You need to be able to figure out a way to set a precedent and a standard. Like, if that was Luke Kuechly, right, and he did something that the NFL does not, like, physical, like kicking somebody, right, in a playoff game, I think the NFL suspends him for the next game. And my point there is, like, that's the biggest name on that defense. And,
right.
And that Draymond Green, biggest name outside of Steph Curry, Klay Thompson on that team. And I think the NFL would uphold their standard that on the playing field, because they don't do, like, the domestic violence well. They don't do the steroid thing all that great. They don't do the off the field stuff well. But the on the field issues, the on the field violence, the on the field, outside of a catch, they have really done everything well. And they have rules in the rule book that says, hey, it doesn't matter who you are, what you are, you're getting suspended if you do this, this, or this. And I feel like the NBA doesn't uphold that for this exact reason, because now Draymond Green can play where, Steven Adams might not have been able to play.
Well, I think the NFL, to what you're getting at with the NFL, I think there's more of a foundation with how they handle things now.
It's also more violent with sports, so they have to have more guidelines like that.
The problem is, and nobody's looking at this perspective either, this is Adam Silver. He's still fresh into his regime and how he handles things.
You're right.
And if
this
people
is the
are
first
saying
big playoff situation.
Right, and people are saying if this was David Stern, he'd have been suspended the next morning.
I agree. I think he would have.
Possibly, yeah. The way that he ran things, sure. Silver runs a completely different system.
A little looser.
He's a lot looser.
It's been a little looser.
So, hey, I mean, he kind of needs to get his style, get his flow going. And unfortunately, this is like one of the first big instances, especially in a playoff situation, like you said. So, I mean, he doesn't have the history of, okay, well, what would he do normally in this situation? He doesn't have that history. So, unfortunately, this is going to be the first one. Now, it's the next situation that goes down. Okay, are you going to let that one go? Are you going to let this one go?
Night before,
or are you going to suspend them? And then people are going to say, well, what about Draymond? But supposedly, what I also heard is that they didn't want to this become like like the 07 Suns or something?
Yes.
When they suspended
Amari
Stoudemire and drawing a blank.
I forget who the other guy was.
Was it Raja Bell?
No.
Regardless, it was two players on the Suns
because they left the bench.
But again, supposedly they didn't want that situation because it was BS and it basically screwed the Suns.
Well, they left the bench, but they didn't do anything. They were pulling players off the pile of a fight. They actually stopped the fight instead of throwing punches.
Right, but again, like I said, that was under the old regime and how things were handled.
And that was also black and white. That was also black and white in the rule book that said, if you did that, you would be suspended for one game, regular season or postseason. So that's a situation, like I said, with the NFL where they have rules in place and things like that. I do think that the NBA will probably have to go to a rules in place situation one day because you can't really be, one night suspending a guy for kicking a guy and the other, literally the next night not suspending somebody for doing maybe the same thing. Right, and because it's Draymond Green, they also said the other guy has a history, but
stars get calls, they don't get calls.
And that's how I opened up the segment because
it's the way it works, dude.
Because I do understand that. You know what I mean? It is one of those things where sometimes you just have to accept it and move on. It also gives the Oklahoma City Thunder a reason to get up and say, "Hey, we want to beat you at full strength, anyways." You know what I mean? They seem like they play better. They seem like they play a little better with like a mission. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Over the last couple of years, they need
in these playoffs. They've caught up. It started with San Antonio, and they've just been on a mission ever since whatever game that was.
Right.
And they've just been on a tear ever since.
Yeah,
but now that's what's great, I guess, even though I don't want to see it. If Golden State loses this, there's no excuse now. Now we don't want to hear the fans. We don't have to hear the fans talking about, well, we didn't have Draymond. Have been different. Now you got him. Now if you lose, like it's shaping up to be as of this moment, there's no excuses, and you just lost, and OKC would then just be the better team. As much as I've shitted on, KD and Russell, as much as you have as well.
Yeah, I admittedly, I
stepped up to the plate.
I counted them out last round. Now, this round, I didn't count them out as much because of what happened last round. I thought there was still a little slight chance, but I did say that I thought Golden State was going to, win.
I said in 6.
I didn't put a number on it, but I mean, at 6 or 7, I literally, I don't think that the Thunder are that far behind them, but at the same time, I still think that Golden State's the better team. Golden State they were small all game. They couldn't really match up. KD was protecting the rim a little bit offensively and defensively. He was getting rebounds.
They're too lengthy, dude. They have too much height. They have too much length.
I thought that the rest of the team was going to be what struggled. I thought outside of Westbrook and Durant, that the rest of the team wouldn't be able to keep up with the Iguodala's and the Draymond Greens and the what I mean. Those role players, which the Warriors we know have ridiculous talent throughout. I thought they were just going to be too deep for them.
I still think start to finish they have the better talent, but
they're getting outplayed. Those role players are getting outplayed, and KD and Russ are both carrying a big part of the load, which is obviously what you need.
I still can't buy into that winning a championship.
I didn't think that. I didn't think that in the first game the Warriors would go cold again the way they did in that first game. But in Game 3, right before half, I think they missed 21 of their last 22 shots. So that's incredible because that's not them. And I don't see them doing that again throughout the series, which makes me think that they'll probably still win the series. But the next game is pivotal. I mean, obviously, and we'll see where that goes.
I think people are kind of just overhyped the way that. I mean, yeah, it's something that. Golden State got beat down, no question.
Yeah.
But people also, in the same breath, were short-term memory or something because the game before, OKC was in the same situation. They got beat down by 27, so it was the same scenario.
The 93 Bulls lost by I think 31 at one point and won the championship. So I mean, it happens. Jordan was on a losing end of a blowout in playoff games before.
It happens.
It does. It happens.
But in the course of a series, from game to game.
To go down, no, it doesn't give you really an explanation of what's going to happen in the next game.
No,
I'll give you that. But to go down 2-1 is a pretty big deal, especially
for Golden State, whom I thought were just going to walk their way to another championship. So.
Exactly. Now they have been in this position twice last year in the postseason, so it's not like they can't get themselves out of it.
My money will always be on the 2-time MVP.
Yeah. I think
just the
that
way it is.
I see him. Putting one of those 40-plus point games up and getting them back in the series when he needs to, whether it be down 2-1 or 3-1. We'll see moving forward. Anything else to add in the West series?
No, man. I think we just about covered it all.
In the East series, we have
another. I don't know what to say about this one either.
A toss-up. I mean, we went from
I can't say it.
I actually have a couple explanations for this, and now you argue with me about stats and analytics, and you don't like that I look at the money side of things, and you are a I'd rather just watch what I'm intaking, and you don't need
work on the court.
You don't need the extra information, right? You don't even though everything else is in the extra information, you're one of those viewers that just rather watch it this way.
I need to see what happens. I don't need to be told what's
the extra information that I have on this series with the Cavs and the Raptors are neither team has won on the road against the other one this season. Kyle Lowery. Okay.
I didn't know that went to the season, but okay. I knew it was playoffs.
The entire season, neither team has they split the season series and both teams won both games at home.
That would mean that Cleveland's winning, but okay.
Okay, so the next one I got for you is wins above replacement is the best way to put it. It's called something different in basketball, but in baseball it's called wins above replacement. Basically, this means your value, right? There's a number on your value as a player, right? It's more specific to you on what you're doing. Kyle Lowery has a 46 win above replacement, which is higher than Steph Curry's. Now, 46, that's against the Cavs all season long. That's including the regular season as well, which is higher than Steph Curry's 32, and he was the unanimous MVP, he was 32 throughout the whole entire year. Most point guards are only like 16 or 17. He's at 40. He's at 40 plus. I mean, that's against the Cavaliers. That's incredible. That means he's coming out to play, doing stuff off the charts, stuff that Steph Curry isn't even doing this season.
Right.
And he's doing that against the Cavs. So that shows a little bit.
When I hear that number, it just goes back to what one of the big criticisms I have had of them is that when they're on, it's because of Lowry and DeRozan being on, but when they're off, man, they are off.
But I think those stats would say something more towards that he has he has the Cavs number in some way, shape, or form. Now they haven't won a game in Cleveland, which is that you obviously need to do
huge,
that, or else you're not going to win the series.
Do you think they can do that? See, I see it's more likely that LeBron would just take one out of Toronto than Toronto taking one out of Cleveland.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, but the way
I don't even like LeBron, so that's big for me to say. But I'm being realistic.
I'm very in the NBA, things seem usually go chalk, but lately, just because, and I know you kind of want to fight it, but because of analytics, things aren't going as chalk. So I wouldn't be super surprised if Toronto stole one in Cleveland, but I'm going to agree with you. I think that it would be more likely that LeBron would win in Cleveland and then in Toronto you can close the series out in 6 instead of taking it to 7. But I don't know. I personally can't see Toronto winning a game in Cleveland.
Yeah, analytics could say what they want about that, but
with
I
that
see
said,
logic, and logic tells me that you're not beating LeBron at home.
With that said, Kevin Love has to figure out a way to get going. I mean, I know the Cavs actually figured out a whole different system with Kevin Love off the court, and when Kyrie Irving was off the court for a little bit, they figured out a pretty good system. They were scoring points. They got themselves back in the game without Kevin Love at all. So it's not like they can't figure out ways to win without one or two of their big three, which is impressive. Going to the next round, they're going to need Kevin Love to step up and play the way he's played in the earlier rounds and even into the first 2 games of the series. The way he played the last 2 games of the series is miserable.
So, do you think that they're even going to make it to the next round now?
Who, the Cavs?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Still,
there's without question. I think LeBron.
I agree.
Here's the thing.
Is it panic mode?
Is it panic mode? No, but here's the thing that I think that needs to happen for the Cavs. The Cavs, LeBron in Game 4, the game they lost in Toronto, very close.
Bring it up like you need to bring it up. Don't ignore it. Go ahead.
He had 29 points in the game. He was their top rebounder. He was tied for their top assist, and he was tied for their top steals. The only thing is he only took 1 shot in the last 5 minutes because he was tired. You can't. What you can't do is you can't have him at the top of everything. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you need to be able to have other guys step up. He can do a little bit of everything, right? But I mean, he shot almost 60. I think it was 66% or 67%. He had an incredible night from the field. I think it was as much fatigue as anything in those last 5 minutes. They were also getting back in the game without him taking the shot.
I guess I'm just going the Mike Wilbon route because literally he had the exact same conversation with Kornheiser on PTI, and I'm gonna say the same thing Wilbon said. I don't want to hear it. You're LeBron James. I need you as a superstar to muster. I don't care how many minutes you put in because Jordan did it, Kobe did. The stars just do that. Does it suck that you were out there? Probably, but you were in a given situation.
Jordan's field goal percentage is down like a lot in the last 5
Apparently
minutes.
the coach. Apparently the coach was so panicky that he kept your ass out there, but then you only take 1 shot in the last 5 minutes. That really, you have Kyle Lowery, a point guard that has. You have like 4, 5, 6, 7 inches on a good, I don't know, 50. I don't know. I'm making up numbers.
He was covering DeRozan. He didn't cover Lowery. He was covering DeRozan.
I'm talking about when Lowery was covering him. I mean.
Yeah. Well,
Lowery was
was coming across the lane, and when he kicked it out the first 3 times, and two of those threes were missed. Well, he got blocked at the rim by Biyombo. He got blocked by the rim at Biyombo, and he didn't. Every other time that Biyombo was in the paint, which is credit to Toronto and Biyombo, LeBron didn't go in. Why is that?
He needs to fight it. Fight that point guard.
He was fighting the point guard. It was the guy behind the point guard that he wasn't trying to fight. Biyombo was coming across the lane. He passed it. He passed it 4 times in a row.
I think if you're LeBron James, you can't get around with your speed and with your strength and your girth. You can't get around Kyle Lowry before big whatever the hell his name is.
He's a monster. He's not the Hulk. You know what I'm saying? Like,
he is a monster, so he should bully his way past Kyle Lowry.
This isn't superhero. There's still guys on the other end trying to stop him.
Guess what? And I'd say this. I have said the same thing about Kobe. You are my star player. You are getting paid the money. I expect you to do the work in the last minutes of the game when it's on the line, especially in the playoff situation when we're going to the finals. I don't want to hear this, I'm tired. Well, then, damn it, you're the coach. Regardless, will sit your ass down earlier in the game.
It's not like Jordan always took a million shots in the last 5 minutes. He 9 out of 10 times took the last shot, but he passed a whole good amount because he was drawing defense around him. It's just that Pippen, Rodman, the Kukoc, Kerr, the rest of them were almost always making those shots. Do you know what I mean?
But then you still say Jordan took control of the situation, and you can't say LeBron took control of the situation.
But he was kicking it out across court when two guys were coming on him.
Look, if he was that tired, if he was that as tired as everybody likes to pretend that he was, which fine, I mean he played a lot. If he was that tired, then bench his ass.
I think yes, I agree. I think if he was that tired,
I'm saying in that moment, bench his ass.
I think
which that's a mess too.
I think Tyronn Lue should have, if he was that tired, sat him a little with 5 minutes to go, sit him for a minute of game time or something like that.
And that goes back to LeBron being a coach, is what we basically always say. So
and you know how I feel about that. I don't like the way he handles these things. I don't like the way, but you
tell him,
say,
Coach, I need to sit down for a minute.
Just like the way he handles the GM situation, which I don't like. You and I both know he's never going to do that, even if he is calling his own shots.
He crosses the boundaries all the time. Why wouldn't he just sit down if he needs a breather, knowing that this is huge? I need to...
Because mentally he doesn't want to take himself off the court. I don't disagree with you because I feel like...
when you're a non-factor, it doesn't matter.
But I feel like he felt like he was drawing two guys away. I mean, he did find an open guy 3 times behind the arc. It was just 2 of those 3 shots were missed. Like, if they make 2 of those 3 shots, literally, that's 6 points and the game is different.
And and you know me, I'd make the same statement because you know that I want him to make those shots, to go for those shots.
I'd like to
especially when you got Kyle Lowry. That's like me going against him. I want him to bully me.
I understand what you're saying. I'd like to see him make the shots too. But if there's 2 guys on him, you and I both know LeBron will always take the smart basketball play and pass it. That's just what he does. Like, he's done that his whole career. And I know that you and Wilbon don't like that, but like
I don't like that.
But that's fine. LeBron James really isn't trying to appease you. He's trying to win a championship. And if those 2 buckets go down, that game is different. I mean, I'm not against what you're saying because I would like to see LeBron make the heroic shot and have these Jordan moments as well.
I want him to pretend that he's the king that he proclaimed himself to be.
But you know what? I'm with LeBron. I want him to win championships. And if he feels like the smarter basketball player, the higher percentage basketball player is to throw it to the open guy behind the arc instead of trying to take on 2 guys, one of which has blocked you already cleanly.
Is that analytics because they lost the game?
No, he just was making a smarter basketball. I think most people would say, before analytics, most people used to say bad shot, like all the time, if you took a bad shot, right? And I think most people would say with 2 men on you, finding the open guy is a better move than taking the bad shot with 2 guys on you.
Again, I think that he's quick enough, fast enough that he wouldn't have to worry about whatever the hell his
But the guy was there.
On.
I mean, he came across the lane all 3 times. We were watching it.
Right, and I'm saying, I think if he puts the effort, he would have gotten there before, but he wasn't putting that effort, in my opinion, what I'm saying. But remember when the last series in the West, when Ginobili, just threw it out because, it was an open man, and I told you, no, go for it. It's the same scenario. I want LeBron to go for it. You're right there. And you have a smaller guy, and you're the king.
But what did I say to you when Ginobili threw it out?
Princess, get out there and fucking shoot the ball.
What did I say to you when Ginobili threw it out?
I don't know. Was it analytics and it was a good move because it was open? Was it a good move?
I said unfortunately he threw it to Patty Mills, but that's
throwing it behind his head was the good move.
I said unfortunately he threw it to Patty Mills, but that's the right play. I mean, like whether wrong guy to throw it to, definitely wrong person to throw it to in that situation, but it was the right play. You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't because I don't agree, but that's fine. We can disagree on that. But at the end of the day,
that's also part of why I like LeBron and I'm okay with LeBron doing things like that, and I'm not. You know what I'm saying? Because
he's afraid of failure.
I don't think that's. But I think him kicking it out with 2 men on him, he's just literally trying to make the smart basketball play. If he does that in the first quarter, you don't have a problem with it, especially if they make it. I
always have a problem with him doing this dumb shit.
But if it's in the first quarter and 2 guys run across the lane and get on him, he throws it to the open guy. And whether that guy makes it or not, you're not sitting there criticizing it.
If it's in the first quarter, then he ain't tired, and if Kyle Lowry's on you, I expect you to do work.
I don't disagree with that, but that was a smart play, and this is what Dwayne Casey does for the Toronto Raptors. It was a smart defensive move by them. They played really good defense all night, but putting in the last couple minutes there, getting Lowry on him, opened up the defense that he was going to back down in the lane. He took their bait every time. He backed Lowry down into the lane every time. The other guy came across the lane, and then he kicked it out. I mean, they wanted the ball in LeBron James' hands. They knew the way to do that was get 2 men on him. They did. I mean, he consistently throws the ball away with 2 men on him. That's what they wanted, the ball in LeBron James' hands, and it worked.
Fine. Yeah, but it didn't work. But
it did work. They won the game.
Well, yeah,
and that's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm saying. So, like, good for Toronto.
Yeah, it worked for Toronto.
That's really good defensive strategy.
But when I hear nothing but this is the that's a joke in and of itself because that's absolutely asinine to me. People say this is the best cast that LeBron's ever had. Excuse you.
No, not
excuse
best
you.
Cast.
Excuse you.
This is the youngest cast.
Well, that's fine.
This is the he saved the most energy up until this game cast, but this is not the best.
I don't know, Wade, Bosh, Ray Allen, even Rashard Lewis. Like they were They had depth.
No.
They even had like a Mike Miller. Like
I would say those Miami.
Even like their 8th point guard was better than most.
The third year Miami team, I think, would beat this year's Cavs team, but I think this year's Cavs team would give all the other Miami teams a run. I don't know if they're better or any worse than it, but that third year Miami team, the one that beat the Spurs on the lucky Ray Allen shot, that team.
Glad you said that.
Oh, absolutely. Not lucky. It was a lucky play that got to
right.
Ray Allen, and Ray Allen. No, nothing about Ray Allen shooting a 3-pointer is lucky. The play around
LeBron was lucky.
The play around that was lucky.
LeBron was lucky.
Yeah,
that would have been a loss.
You gotta be lucky to win championships.
In that situation, yes, because the series was done.
Yeah, you gotta be lucky to win championships in general. You gotta get your breaks across the way. But, I mean, if the Warriors win the championship this year, we'll be talking about Draymond Green not getting suspended, right? Yeah, catching a break. But no, so, still, moving forward, we both think that the Cavaliers are gonna win the series?
Yeah, I still don't believe in Toronto. I mean, they get a lot of respect because I said they'd get lucky to get one because I was a nice person, but they got 2. Good. I'm not even being sarcastic. I agree. Awesome. I still don't believe in anything about them because I still think they're overachieving.
As I said, credit to them defensive wise because
I don't know how you overachieve.
I know that you think they're overachieving, but I look at it in the sense of honestly, they are that good defensively. I mean, they were only 2 wins behind the Cavs this year, and if they play as well as they did at home, if they play defensively the way they did in those 2 home games, I think that they could go and they can honestly sustain and play with anybody. I don't know if they could beat anybody in a 7-game series, but I think that they can play, and especially the way they are with anybody. So, it's impressive. Their defense is real. It's legit. They're doing something impressive out there, not just in the series, but all season long. Quickly, before we move off the NBA, I want to throw in the one last thing to follow up on our thing last week. We didn't come up with any ideas or conclusions of how we wanted to fix the ref situation. Mm-hmm. So, sat down, thought long and hard about it, and I came to an idea, and I'll let me know your thoughts on it. You might not like it.
Probably won't.
Let's get another ref on the court. Let's get another official out there. Let's get 4 instead of 3. And now,
there's 4.
I think there's 3 on the court at all.
There's 4.
Okay, well let's get a 5th if there's 4. Whatever it takes, get another set of eyes out there. I just think another brain on the court. I think situation like the Draymond Green situation, or like the one before, like in the Oklahoma City Spurs. So
you want more officials out there?
I just think one more official wouldn't hurt.
And there's only one thing I have to say about that, which is the ones that are out there can't get it right. So how am I supposed to believe an extra one's supposed to get it right?
Because I think another one's seeing it. I mean, they were behind the play during the walk. You know what I mean? Like he was 2-3 steps behind him during that walk. Whether I think he saw it or not.
Kind of like the dude who was, he didn't see, but he was looking right. He was looking at the ball. And
right. I'm not saying it necessarily changes in that situation, which hopefully it would.
No. I don't want more referees. I want more. I want the NBA collectively to figure out what the hell they need to do to get these referees to be 1, consistent, and 2, to pretend that they know what they're talking about. And 3, always have all referees in the fucking game itself, let alone in other games, be consistent with each other. Yeah. I didn't see it. Well, I saw it. Well, this is unlike anything we ever saw. I don't want to hear that.
We went in circles last week, and we necessarily agree and don't agree kind of at the same time.
New York, they always flash back to that damn scene in New York when they got 30 monitors and they're all watching the game.
Right.
Have somebody with the earpiece talk to somebody at all times. Something. Get it right.
Yep.
I don't want to hear it. Yeah, before the game started, before Game 4 started tonight with OKC and Golden State, TNT, they had on some guy from New York, whoever, an official guy in New York. And he was like, well, the ref's decision making in the last 2 minutes of this playoffs is above 95%. And I'm just like, what are you watching in the last 2 minutes? What? Well, they're missing the ones that really, really matter.
I can think of 4 instances in this playoff.
God.
Game 7 of the Toronto series, 2 games in the Spurs and Oklahoma series, and then the last, the 1 game in the Oklahoma series and Golden State series. I mean, those 4 alone. And you
can even say the Draymond situation.
The Draymond situation. And you and I both agreed. We watched the Toronto Cleveland Game 4 together. We agreed that the refs were miserable both ways.
We didn't even talk about.
They called really bad calls on LeBron. They called really bad calls against for LeBron. It was miserably officiated.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about in the Toronto Cavs game when at the end when Kyle Lowry stole the ball from LeBron, he smacked his arm.
Total foul. Just total
completely.
Foul.
He threw his arm out the no call. So I don't know what this high 95% and above percentage is.
Only because LeBron gets only because LeBron, and I don't say it's not deservedly so, gets killed for talking to the refs the way he does. He didn't actually complain after that, which I was impressed about. Usually he's like complaining, looking at the ref. He was just trying to get back, make a play. I was impressed because I think he's trying to, turn that around a little bit, hopefully. But
speaking of LeBron and officiating, did you see that one where he was just over dramatically and then he fell? Mm-hmm. He got smacked in the face and he was just like,
I did.
Like he did this Fred Sanford, Elizabeth, and then he fell.
I did.
The king.
I always tell you this is Kobe's fault. He did it really well, but this is his fault. He did it really well, but this is his fault. He brought soccer into basketball. Yes, it is. He is the original master of getting barely tipped and falling, but he was able to make it look good. You know what I mean? He was able to make it not look like a flop. It is. Kobe was the first one to be going down over nothing, but it looked like he was literally just gliding through the air and getting kind of tapped to the ground. These guys look miserable doing it.
This is the face of the league. I don't see Steph Curry on that.
Steph Curry does. Steph Curry, you don't see him go to the.
I don't see him fall like that.
He doesn't go into the lane a lot, but when he goes in the lane, he goes down.
He didn't go in the lane. This was in the middle of the court.
Well, I know that.
And it was his own player, his own teammate.
The wrong way.
Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you, honey. Sit your dumb ass down, LeBron. God. Act Shaq and the Fool. That should be a Shaq and the Fool.
Quickly, because there is a NFL issue that I want to get into, but before we talk about that, last week I kind of put baseball down, and I want to say...
That's easy to do.
Yeah, it is, but I want to actually give someone in baseball some credit. Clayton Kershaw did something in the month of May that has never happened in my lifetime. It's only happened once in the last 100 years. He went undefeated, not just undefeated, but he threw 3 shutouts.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
in the entire month.
In the entire month.
Wow.
Yeah, it was incredible. He won a 1-0 game, I think Sunday or Monday of this week.
Any no hitters on there?
No hitters, but he had a 3-hitter, a 4-hitter, and I think
still good.
Somewhere I think between a 6 and a 4-hitter or something like that.
Still impressive.
He only walked I think 2 batters the entire month, and he struck out 10 plus I think in 4 of the 5 starts. So just absolutely it's the most incredible month pitching wise a one individual player has ever had. He might be the best regular season pitcher in my lifetime and in our lifetime since I've been watching baseball. He has his issues in the playoffs. It's usually against the Cardinals. It's only against one team, but he is incredible. He's one of my favorite players in the league because he's incredible to watch. But right now we're just we talked about it before. We're in the height of a pitching era right now for baseball, and it's just numbers like that. Him and Jake Arrieta this year alone are doing incredible things. Serger, and people aren't even talking about Felix Hernandez is having an incredible season as well for the Seattle Mariners. We're just it's all over the place. It's incredible, fun to watch. But I wanted to bring up Clayton Kershaw.
So is it? Now my question with that is, you said, it's great pitching, but is there also a lack of just hitting?
No.
Is there a lack of good hitters out there?
Actually,
or is it,
it's interesting. Yes,
or I'm saying I'm trying to say is, are the pitchers just that much more dominant? Is there such a gap there?
There's a gap both ways. It's like the NBA. You know how the top of the talent is definitely separated from the bottom. Mm. You look at the lineups consistently night in, night out. You might get 3 or 4 guys that are elite, really good players, and you might get 2 pitchers on every team that you're like, yes, he could play for any ball clubs, be the number 1 or number 2. Mm-hmm. But then you look at their 3, 4, and 5 pitchers, and you're like, yeah, those guys, they could be in minor leagues next week. You know what I'm saying? So and that happens all the time in the major leagues. So while Clayton Kershaw is out here, dominating, and the Dodgers have a good staff, so this is a bad example. Like their fifth starter might not really be any, all that good. So it balances out. That's what makes baseball so interesting. You're trying to find the right balance of getting enough guys who can compete at the highest level because it's just so wide and so broadband. And it's not just that because then you get the lineup, the hitting lineup. You might get the last 4 guys in the lineup that can't hit at all, but they're all really good defensively probably. So reasons why they're in there. It's very interesting, very hard in that sense. Right now we're in an odd situation for baseball because you have guys like Bryce Harper, who Bryce Harper got walked I think every time in a weekend, or every time in one of the he went to the plate 8 times and he walked. He was walked every time against the Cubs. He's guys like him.
He's getting a Barry Bonds treatment.
Where basically he walks up to the plate and you literally are scared he's going to hit a home run every time. And then you got guys like Clayton Kershaw where you're like, there might not get a hit off of him all night. So like it's interesting how these things are working. We're in an odd dynamic for baseball, but it's getting more popular in 2016 because it's becoming more of a postseason sport.
Yeah, it definitely is.
And it's making the regular season
same thing like hockey. It's
differently important, right?
It's just
postseason sport.
It's just a lot more exciting.
Yep.
And you can kind of argue about it with the NBA as well, I guess.
I like baseball's regular season because that's where the bulk is. I mean, Clayton Kershaw, what he does in the regular season is impressive. It is like their crown gems, the numbers that he's doing. Obviously, I love postseason baseball as well. But as you said, that's when it's going to be most watched.
That's the only time I have to pay attention. So
jumping into the NFL.
That's the sport I pay attention to.
We had a bunch of I'm just sayings this year. I had a pretty good one on concussions, and
I remember
this
that.
isn't really necessarily just an I'm just saying. It's more of like a shame on you, I guess. The NFL put up a ton of money behind a study that was for concussions to help try to actually research concussions in living people, CT in living people, so they could try to stop, the things that have been happening, the depression, and then these guys taking suicide or, getting addicted to painkillers or whatever it is that ends up killing these people. So the NFL was like, hey, we got this money, we're going to help back this study, we're going to put, whatever towards it. Doctors come back, give them the results. The NFL does not agree with the results, and they actually wanted the doctors to skew the results into a different direction to make it say something different before it got documented or in documents and whatnot. So my issue is that they're blatantly lying to their players, and it's not like the cigarette companies where eventually they were just like, well, yeah, you can get cancer and die from this. It's more of like you probably can, get this and die from it, but we're going to try to tell you otherwise, and that
we're just going to lie about it.
That is where an issue really falls in with me personally because, well, it's such a big deal. I mean, it's been a big deal for how long we've been talking. We talked about it almost since our show has started now about concussions at least once a month or at least once every other month, especially during football season. So for the NFL to blatantly stare it right in the face and still think that they could just politic their way out of it and make it change. I mean, it's the facts are there. It's not going to change. You can't, the players organization, the NFLPA, how are they supposed to go into meeting rooms and boardrooms with the NFL and seriously sit down with them and ask them, to be legitimate straight up with them, not just about this, but about money with sponsorship deals or TV deals, or it's just, if you guys are this greedy that you guys are trying to cover up something like this, like what else is behind the scenes that they don't see that we don't see is probably going on.
Too much.
It's incredible. They're turning into FIFA,
dude. And yeah, you're right. And they're getting exposed more and more and more. They're getting more,
often,
and it's getting really frequent.
Yeah.
and it's, I feel like just the way that the past been going, it's only going to get worse. And like we were talking before we started recording this, I said, why wouldn't you just at least just be like, hey, you know what? We did in the past, we did it this way, and you know what? Yeah, it was messed up. Maybe we weren't educated. Maybe we whatever.
Yeah,
just lie about it.
Yeah.
But now in 2016, we all know that that's not reality. So why don't you just say, you know what? We effed up then, but now we want to make it right. So let's figure this out together instead of trying to cover it up. And when you're saying now we're taking funding away from research when we're supposed to be this company that's all about player health,
protecting your players,
like we like to pretend that we are.
Yep.
You can't have it both ways. Then they're trying to protect, the money. They're trying to protect the owners more than the players, and that's always been the big issue. But like I said, you can't have it both ways. And like to your credit, you keep saying you don't see the NFL being around or as we know it in 20 years.
Yeah, 20 to 50 years.
And the more that this stuff comes up, seemingly, every couple weeks, every other month, whatever, very frequent. It's not looking promising for the NFL as a whole.
It seems like they're getting extra greedy and they're trying to push us along because I think that inside they might feel the same way that I do, that this might not happen in 20 to 50 years. They might not be around. They might not be able to make money anymore. So I think part of it's that.
People aren't tolerating anymore. They need to come clean with it. This isn't like boxing. We kind of let slide. UFC. We kind of let pro wrestling. We let this shit slide.
Yes, but at the same time, those people, they see what Parkinson's disease have done to Ali. You know what I mean? They understand what that could happen. That could be them at 65, 70 years old. Mm-hmm. My thing was, people still smoke cigarettes. So I don't think that football's. While I think football's going to die, I think that the potential of it still being around is as great of a chance because people still smoke cigarettes knowing that they can die of cancer. I think that people will still be playing football knowing that they can die of this disease. It's just you can't hide it from the people the way you are. It's inhumane. You know what I mean? You're not protecting other humans, and there's kids on the line here. You know, there's kids that play this sport. That's the basis of all of this. Is that everyone just kind of wants to protect the younger spot of this and try to figure this out. So that yes, you know what, we would like football to be around. I would love football to be around in 50 years, to 100 years, 300 years, whatever. But I just would like to see it done at a lower level differently. But the only way we can do that is researching other things. And the NFL here is just trying to block their own investment, themselves at the top of the food chain. And it's really looking bad the rest of the way. And that's what's going to erode it.
That's what these old money makers do, dude. When you're at the top, you don't worry about what's beneath you. It's like any other job. Like
yes.
Think about any job. Like think of your job. Anybody, think of your job. Think of your supervisors, your managers, even above that, going to corporate offices.
Yeah.
Do you think that they really, at the end of the day, care
about the lower levels of this? No,
they don't, because they're not there. They're not in that grind setting. They're up there at the top, making the money, making the big decisions.
See the dollar signs. They see that.
They're making
this is how we can profit.
They're making the decisions for the little people.
Yes.
And the little people are just like, well, what about us? This should be done this way. And they're like, oh, we're just going to keep counting our money. And that's how the NFL is treating it. But the difference is between the NFL right, and our jobs.
Right, this is human lives that they're saving.
We're talking about lives. We're talking about,
And that's the biggest
people's
thing.
just mental health. And mental health is a huge thing.
I want to see guys like Calvin Johnson play longer and not be scared that he's not going to have his brain in 20 years because of the sport. You know how you can do that? Research. You can figure out a way. You can figure out a way to say, hey, if we take these preventative steps, or if we see how we can handle it this way, or if we can do this way, you're going to have more talent like Calvin Johnson playing longer amounts of time.
The NFL, bottom line, the NFL needs to come correct. And it's just that's just the overall reaction that I have about it, and stop hiding it. There's no need, and you can't hide it anymore. This new age, the age that we live in, the social media age that we live in 2016, you can't continue to hide this because we all know the truth. Yep. You got movies and documentaries. You got players.
The facts are there.
That are dead, that are alive, that have issues or had issues.
People
it's
are
out
offering
there.
so many people are offering up their brains after they pass away in our era and generation now that it's going to be one of those things that our kids and their kids and their kids are all going to know so much about it because of those kind of people. And the NFL today is just trying to prolong that. But it's there. You know what I mean? It's already there. We already know about it. So the research in 100 years is going to be broad and probably completely understood by then. Do you know what I mean? So
you're only helping yourself by
you got to kind of get up with the times, or else you're going to fall behind.
Help yourself by that's all you got to do. Help yourself now by taking the steps. It's going to be a long process, clearly, but you're not even taking the initial steps to try and correct it.
Yeah.
You put on this facade about player safety, blah blah blah, but then you do the complete opposite behind the scenes.
You're not caring,
and you don't think you're going to get caught. Right. And people don't talk. People don't tweet, people don't post things.
And that's another thing is that you blatantly do something this big, this bad,
it's not going to go unnoticed.
And you have the Ray Rice situation, you have they mishandled the Greg Hardy situation, they mishandled the Adrian Peterson situation. You know what I mean?
And this has just been in the last 2-3 years.
They're having the concussion situation. They're at a point where Goodell is literally a dictator. They got to figure out a way to, when he gets out of there, be able to move this along differently than just having one guy, because
they're going to need an Adam Silver
for a very long time.
They're going to need a fresh take on it.
Yes, or Rob Manfred for the MLB, same exact situation. For a very long time, I was so not really thinking Goodell was the issue.
Me neither. But it's becoming more and more.
It's not even that he is the issue. It's that
and we said it. We said that
if his hands are this tied, then he should. I would just quit at this point. You know what I mean? But if you're making these decisions, you look blatantly bad.
Dude, we said it before in the show. We said he's basically just a figure. He's the president. He's like the president of the United States.
He's getting paid the money to take the bullets.
But at some point,
this is out of hand.
At some point, this is your regime, and at some point, especially when it's going and going.
Do you want to leave a legacy or not? Because
you gotta take
right now your legacy. Your legacy became the most popular and most I guess profitable sport in America.
Right.
It also became the most dirty, filthiest, and frowned upon sport in America at the same time.
Yep. And it rides on him.
Things that he does.
You're the leader. At the end of the day, at some point, it has to come to you. And I think we've been beyond the point that it's on him now.
Something has to change. When it comes to these kind of things, the NFL needs to handle these situations better. They need to get on board, not just with the concussion thing, but with everything else, with handling things out of it. I mean, the Brady situation is a mess right now. It just is. These things, you can't be having these things played out the way they are getting played out in the last couple of years. It's pretty messy.
I want to see football 20 years from now, so
do I.
I hope to God they get it together.
So do I. Yeah. Well, next week we'll probably know. If not, we'll be really close to knowing who's going to be playing in the finals. Stanley Cup finals will probably be set by then.
Definitely should be set up by then.
So we have enough to get into with those, hopefully, and
hopefully get some news going.
Yeah.
Some fight news.
NFL. Yeah. Oh, speaking of fights.
What's up?
Okay, I would like to get this on record now. Do you think the Conor McGregor Floyd Mayweather fight will happen?
No, never in a million years. Boxing wise, no. MMA, no.
I'm putting a 25% chance on it. Okay, boxing wise.
You think it's gonna be in a boxing ring?
I think that if somebody offers up $100 million to Floyd Mayweather, he would fight a donkey right now. So I just think that $100 million is a lot of money.
Did you hear?
And that's what I heard Showtime is offering. It's really hard. I mean, $100 million.
Well, apparently, and they established the percentages of who would get what, and McGregor, whatever it was, he said it was a joke, which it's ironic because that would be like the most money he's ever gotten in his life, but it was such a discrepancy because of who Floyd is and because he's the boxer, obviously.
Floyd would make well over like 60% of this.
Yes,
and
McGregor came out
like 20, and then everybody else would make the leftover.
And McGregor has come out this week and basically was just like, no, I should get more.
That's fine.
It's not. I don't see it's going to happen.
This is the reason Pacquiao didn't fight him for 3 years, and then guess what Pacquiao did? Agreed to 5% less.
I really don't want to see it.
Well, I don't want to see it in 3 or 4 years, so it doesn't matter.
I don't want to see it. Period. Like at first, I was kind of.
I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it at all, honestly. But
it's gonna be ugly.
I think there's.
If you're realistic and you ignore who these guys are as stars, and you know.
I think that $100 million is hard to walk away from if that's offered up on the table. I think that Floyd will. I think he's already entertaining it. I think that there's a shot. It happens, but I agree. We're both on the page. It doesn't happen.
Give me 2% of what McGregor would make, and Floyd, you can knock me out.
Yeah, me too.
Ben never said that.
Me too.
I'm just saying.
Give him 3. Let me get 1% as his trainer.
That's cool.
Cool. All right, we're in. Well, thank you for watching JD Sports. I'm Jarrett Hutt. That's Dwight Garfield.